I was standing in front of the painting when an unknown man handed me a note. "Stay calm and follow me." I was surprised, but he whispered, "The man in the corner of the hall is watching you." I turned around and froze. It was... Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The painting before me showed fractured faces, a family torn through prismatic light. I'd been standing there 10 minutes, maybe longer, letting retirement feel like something I deserved rather than something I'd lost. February afternoons in Portland carried a particular gray weight, but inside the museum, the light fell clean across polished floors. I'd become comfortable these past 2 years living with Blanche and Glenn. My daughter had insisted after Martha died, and I'd resisted less than I should have. This morning over breakfast, she'd mentioned downsizing. "Just think about it, Dad," she'd said, buttering toast. The suggestion hadn't bothered me then. The stranger appeared at my elbow without sound. "The composition in this piece is remarkable, don't you think?" His voice carried an educated smoothness, addressing the small cluster of visitors nearby. "The way light fractures through the frame. Something pressed into my palm, paper, folded tight." His fingers were gone before I could react, but he'd moved closer now, his shoulder nearly touching mine. We both faced the fractured family. "Act calm and follow me," the note read when I unfolded it slightly. My courtroom composure, built over 3 decades on the bench, kept my expression neutral. But my pulse kicked up. The man leaned in, his whisper urgent and direct. "The man in the corner of the hall is watching you. Don't turn quickly." Every instinct screamed to look. I didn't. Not immediately. Instead, I studied the painting harder, buying seconds to think. Who watches a retired judge in an art museum? Why would someone warn me? The stranger shifted his weight, angling his body as though discussing the artwork. "Don't turn suddenly. Follow my lead." I couldn't help it. My head turned, slow and casual, scanning the gallery as though admiring the space. That's when I saw him. Stewart. My son-in-law stood partially obscured by a marble column, phone pressed to his ear, eyes tracking me. He'd told us this morning he'd be in Seattle today. Business meetings. Blanche had kissed him goodbye at the door while I'd poured coffee. The wrongness of it hit my stomach like a fist. "Who are you?" I kept my voice barely audible, still facing the painting. "What's happening?" "Private Detective David Chen. Your daughter Cora hired me." He touched my elbow lightly, a guide more than a grip. "We need to talk somewhere private, now." Cora, my younger daughter, the one who'd moved to Eugene 5 years ago. She'd hired a detective? David began walking, and I followed. We moved naturally, 2 museum goers transitioning between galleries. He steered us toward a doorway marked "Staff Only" near the contemporary wing. My mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. Stewart watching me. Stewart lying about Seattle. Cora hiring investigators. A security guard glanced up as we approached the staff door, but David produced some credential I didn't catch, offered a pleasant nod, and we slipped through. The service corridor was bare concrete and fluorescent lighting, industrial after the gallery's elegance. Our footsteps echoed. David moved quickly now, leading me to a stairwell that smelled of paint and cleaning solution. He turned to face me, pulling a business card and a thin folder from his jacket. The card read, "David Chen, Private Investigations, licensed and bonded." "Your daughter Cora hired me 3 weeks ago," he said, his tone shifting from urgent to professional. "She noticed something off about her sister's behavior." The words hung in the stale air. Something off about Blanche, my daughter, my oldest child, who'd taken me in, who'd insisted I shouldn't be alone after Martha's funeral, who'd made room for me in her home and her life. "Off how?" My voice came out harder than intended, the judicial tone I'd used for hostile witnesses. David opened the folder. Inside were photographs, time-stamped and clear. The first showed Blanche and Stewart entering a building I didn't recognize. The angle suggested surveillance from across the street. "They've visited this attorney 4 times in the past 2 months, David said, his voice steady and factual. His specialty is elder law, specifically incompetency declarations and guardianship proceedings. Your daughter and son-in-law have consulted him 4 times. They're building a case to declare you mentally unfit." The words landed with surgical precision. Incompetency, guardianship, mental unfitness. Legal terms I'd heard 1,000 times from the bench, now aimed at me like weapons. Mentally unfit. I heard my own voice, flat and controlled, though my hands wanted to shake. To manage my own affairs, my own home. I paused, forcing my breathing steady. Evidence? David laid out more photographs on the stairwell steps. Blanche and Stuart outside a medical office. Stuart photographing my home office through the doorway, catching papers scattered across my desk. Another image showed them at what looked like a coffee shop, heads close together, reviewing documents. They've been recording conversations where you allegedly forget things, David explained, his tone professional but not cold. Photographing your office in disarray, which they create themselves. Stuart has a physician friend willing to diagnose dementia without proper examination. Dr. Harrison, internal medicine, owes Stuart money from poker games. The pieces assembled themselves in my mind with terrible clarity. Blanche asking if I'd remembered appointments I'd never made, her concerned expression when I looked confused. Stuart moving my car keys, then finding them an hour later in obvious places, suggesting gently that I should be more careful. Documents vanishing from my desk, only to reappear days later while they exchanged meaningful glances. They've been setting me up, I said, and the words tasted like poison. For 3 months, systematically. David pulled out another document, a financial spreadsheet with highlighted figures. The petition could be filed within 2 weeks. Judge Marshall is handling these cases currently. He's known for quick hearings when medical evidence seems clear. Marshall. I knew him. A competent judge, maybe too trusting of medical testimony. He'd rule fast if a doctor testified convincingly. How much? The question came out colder than I intended. What's my life worth to them? David met my eyes without flinching. Your house appraises at $850,000. Stuart owes $120,000 to various creditors. Blanche has $45,000 in credit card debt. Your savings, pension, assets, they've researched everything. The numbers clicked into place. Enough debt to be desperate, enough equity to solve their problems. And me, the obstacle between them and financial freedom. Not a father, not family, just an asset to liquidate. Cora knows? She suspected. She hired me. She didn't want to confront them without proof. David's expression softened slightly. Smart woman. She said you'd know what to do with this information. My daughter, my youngest, who'd always been the observer, the quiet one who noticed everything. She'd seen what I'd missed, acted while I'd been played. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to Marcus Reed's contact. My thumb hovered over the call button. Marcus and I had worked together for 20 years. Him as defense attorney, me on the bench. He'd retired the same year I had, but he still consulted on elder law cases. I need to call someone, tonight, an attorney, Marcus Reed. I looked up at David. Then I need to go home and pretend I know nothing. The strategy was forming now, cold and clear. Can you continue surveillance? Already planned, they don't know I exist. David handed me a flash drive. Everything's here. Your attorney will need this. Video surveillance, audio recordings, financial documents, the corrupted doctor's history. It's all documented. I pocketed the drive, feeling its weight like a weapon. Keep watching them, I said. I want to know every move they make, every meeting, every phone call, everything. David nodded, understanding in his expression. He'd seen this before, the moment a victim became something else. We left through different exits. I took the main entrance, walking normally, an old man leaving a museum after an afternoon of culture. My car was where I'd left it in the parking structure. I placed David's folder under the passenger seat, hidden but accessible. The drive home took 20 minutes. I used every second to think, to plan, to let the judicial training I'd spent a lifetime developing take control. They wanted to use the law against me. I'd written legal opinions. I'd presided over thousands of cases. I knew every procedure, every loophole, every tactical advantage. I pulled into the driveway as evening settled over the neighborhood. Lights glowed warm in the kitchen windows. Through the glass, I could see Blanche moving, Stuart leaning against the counter, my home, my family, my betrayers. I checked my watch. Marcus would still be in his office. I'd call him after dinner, after I'd played my part convincingly enough. I gripped the steering wheel, took a controlled breath, rehearsed the expression I'd wear, pleased, tired, content. the mask of a man who suspected nothing. Then I opened the car door and stepped out into the cooling air. My shoes crunched on gravel. The front door seemed farther away than usual, but I reached it, hand on the handle. Voices inside, Blanche laughing at something Stuart said. The door opened before I could turn the knob. "Dad, you're home! How was the exhibition?" Blanche stood in the doorway, her smile wide and warm and absolutely false. I endured dinner, small talk, lies. Blanche asked about the exhibition, and I described paintings I'd barely registered. Stuart mentioned his Seattle trip went well, and I nodded as though I believed him. Glenn ate silently, eyes on his phone screen, a ghost at his own table. At 9:30, after they had retired to their room, I closed myself in the study. The room felt different now, contaminated. How many times had Stuart photographed this space, documenting the chaos they had created? How many conversations had they recorded, twisting my words into evidence of decline? I pulled David's flash drive from my pocket, locked it in the desk drawer alongside the folder from my car. Then I picked up my phone and dialed Marcus Reed. He answered on the second ring. "Silas, everything all right?" "Marcus, I need legal counsel, immediately." I kept my voice low, aware of the thin walls. "My daughter and son-in-law are building a case to declare me incompetent. I have evidence." Silence stretched for 3 seconds. Then Marcus's voice came back, stripped of casual warmth, pure professional focus. "Silas, listen carefully. Don't sign anything. Don't discuss your finances or assets with anyone in your household. Come to my office at 8 tomorrow morning. Bring everything you have." "I will." "And Silas, don't let them know you're suspicious. Act normal. Can you do that?" I thought of 30 years on the bench, maintaining judicial neutrality through testimony designed to manipulate emotion. "I can do that." "Good. 8 sharp. We'll handle this." Morning came after a sleepless night spent cataloging evidence in my mind. I left the house at 7:30, telling Blanche I had errands downtown. She smiled, kissed my cheek, asked if I remembered where I'd parked the car. "I remember everything, Blanche." Something flickered in her expression, too quick to interpret. "Of course you do, Dad. Drive safe." Marcus's office occupied the 14th floor of a glass tower in downtown Portland. I'd been here dozens of times over the years, but never as a client. The receptionist recognized me, offered coffee, led me to the conference room where Marcus waited. He'd aged well like me, silver hair, sharp eyes, the bearing of someone who'd spent decades in courtrooms. We shook hands, and he gestured to the leather chair across from him. "Show me what you have." I laid out David's folder. Marcus studied each photograph methodically, making notes on a legal pad. When I handed him the flash drive, he plugged it into his laptop and watched the surveillance footage in silence. His jaw tightened as he reviewed the audio recordings. Blanche and Stuart discussing their timeline, Stuart coaching the corrupt doctor on what testimony to provide. "This is conspiracy to commit fraud," Marcus said finally, his voice controlled but hard. "Elder abuse, possibly criminal. We need to move fast, document your competency, protect your assets, and gather evidence of their activities. If they file first, you're fighting defensively." He outlined the strategy with military precision. First, comprehensive medical evaluations from 3 independent physicians, neurologist, psychiatrist, general practitioner, all with unimpeachable reputations. Second, asset protection measures to prevent them from accessing or controlling my property. Third, continued surveillance to document their ongoing conspiracy. "How long before they could file?" I asked. 2 weeks, maybe 3. Judge Marshall moves quickly when he sees medical evidence. We use that time to fortress your assets and prepare countermeasures. When they move, we'll be ready. The next 4 days became a rotation through medical offices. Tuesday morning, I sat in a neurologist's examination room, completing cognitive assessment tests, pattern recognition, memory exercises, problem-solving tasks. The doctor, a woman in her 50s named Dr. Patterson, watched me work through each challenge with professional attention. "Mr. Grant, your cognitive function is excellent," she said afterward, reviewing her notes. "Memory sharp, reasoning clear, no signs of impairment whatsoever. I'll have the written evaluation completed by tomorrow. For a man your age, you're remarkably sharp." Wednesday brought the psychiatrist, Thursday the general practitioner. Each evaluation confirmed what I already knew. I was completely competent. Each doctor would provide formal documentation stating so. Between appointments, I returned home to maintain the facade. And now, with new awareness, I recognized every manipulation tactic they employed. Blanche moved my reading glasses from the side table to the kitchen counter, then found them an hour later with exaggerated concern. "Dad, you left these in the strangest place. Do you remember putting them there?" "I must have been distracted," I said, though I'd watched her move them through the study doorway. Stuart mentioned appointments I'd never made, implying memory gaps. "Weren't you supposed to meet someone today? You seemed concerned about it yesterday." "I have no appointment scheduled." "Huh, must have misunderstood." They spoke loudly, as though I were deaf. They exchanged meaningful glances when I hesitated over any decision, even simple ones like choosing dinner. Each gesture, each comment, each staged incident. I cataloged them all in a written log I kept locked in my desk drawer. Dates, times, exact words. The judge's habit of precise record-keeping. At breakfast Friday morning, Blanche brought up the house again. "Dad, I was thinking, this place is so much work for one person. Have you considered somewhere smaller, more manageable? There are lovely communities for active seniors." "I manage fine, Blanche. I've lived here 30 years. I'm not going anywhere." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course, just thinking ahead." That afternoon, David called with updated financial intelligence. I took the call from my car, parked in a grocery store lot. "More information on Stuart," he said, voice crisp. "Gambling debts, $20,000 to a private lender, $40,000 in personal loans, $60,000 in failed business investments. He's drowning." Blanche maxed out 5 credit cards, luxury purchases, spa treatments, designer clothes. They need money fast. The numbers painted a clear picture: desperation, urgency. My house worth $850,000 represented their salvation, and I was the obstacle between them and financial survival. "Keep watching them," I said. "Document everything." "Already on it." By week's end, I sat in Marcus's office for our final strategy session. Medical reports spread before us, all confirming competency. Marcus slid a fresh document across his desk. Asset protection plan. Phase 1 complete. Now we protect what's yours before they can touch it. I picked up the pen, began reading the transfer documents. Outside the office window, Portland rain began falling, soft and steady. Marcus continued, his voice carrying satisfaction I recognized, the pleasure of outmaneuvering an opponent. "Tomorrow, we move your money. Then we talk to your daughter Cora about the house. They won't know what hit them until—" Monday morning, I walked into Pacific Northwest Bank, not my usual branch. The banker, a composed woman named Ms. Richardson, led me to a private office with frosted glass walls. "Mr. Grant, I'm moving $340,000 from your accounts at First National to this new account," she said, typing efficiently. "The transfers will complete within 48 hours. You'll receive confirmation documents." Perfect. I watched the screen, seeing decades of savings, pension deposits, careful investments reduced to numbers on a display. "And this account remains solely in my name, correct? No joint access, no secondary authorization?" "Correct. Only you have access. Complete privacy." I signed the authorization forms with steady hands. Each signature moved money beyond Blanche and Stuart's reach. By Wednesday evening, $340,000 sat in an account they didn't know existed. I left $15,000 in the original accounts, enough for household expenses, not enough to raise immediate suspicion. Financial foundation secured. Thursday morning brought the more complex maneuver. I met Marcus and Cora at his office. My younger daughter looked worried, angry, ready for answers. I slid the folder containing the house deed across the conference table to her. "Your sister and Stuart plan to declare me incompetent, gain guardianship, and sell the house," Marcus explained, his voice matter of fact. "By transferring 50% ownership to you, we prevent that. They can't sell property they don't fully control." Cora's face shifted from confusion to understanding to fury. "Blanche would do this? Put you in a home and steal everything?" She turned to me, her eyes fierce. "What do you need me to do?" "Co-own the house, sign the transfer documents, help me protect what I built." I met her gaze steadily. "Your sister made her choice. I'm making mine. I'll do it, whatever you need." Friday afternoon, we sat in a notary's office. The notary, an older man with precise movements, reviewed our identification and the deed transfer documents. I need to verify. You're both entering this property transfer voluntarily, without coercion? He looked at me directly. Mr. Grant, you understand you're gifting 50% ownership to your daughter Cora? Completely voluntary, completely intentional. We signed in blue ink. The notary stamped each page with his official seal, the sound sharp in the quiet office. 50% of the $850,000 house, valued at $425,000, transferred to Cora as a gift. Within annual gift tax exemption limits, completely legal. The documents went to the county recorder's office that same afternoon. Property now jointly owned. Blanche and Stuart had no idea half their anticipated inheritance had just become their sisters. Monday brought the final protection layer. I sat in an estate attorney's office with Marcus present as witness. The attorney, a meticulous man named Howard Chen, laid out the new will. This explicitly excludes your daughter Blanche and her family from inheritance, he said, reviewing each page. Once signed, your previous will is void. Are you certain? Absolutely certain. Cora inherits everything. Blanche gets nothing. Put that in writing. I initialed each page, signed the final page with 2 witnesses present. The attorney sealed the document in an envelope marked Last Will and Testament, Silas Grant, March 2025. Another fortress wall complete. At home, the tension escalated daily. Stuart became more aggressive, Blanche more insistent. They were running out of time, their debts crushing them, their solution slipping away, though they couldn't understand why. Comments became less subtle. You really should consider a professional care evaluation. People your age need advocates to protect them from bad decisions. We only want what's best for you. Tuesday evening at dinner, Stuart abandoned all pretense. He slid glossy brochures across the table toward me. Expensive retirement communities, full care facilities with smiling elderly residents photographed in manicured gardens. Silas, we need to talk seriously about your future. His voice carried barely restrained aggression. I've researched excellent facilities, full medical care, activities, community. You'd be much happier, much safer. We could tour this weekend. Blanche leaned forward, her rehearsed concern thick in her voice. Dad, we're worried. The house is too much responsibility. What if something happens? What if you fall or forget something important? Let us help you make smart decisions now, before what, Blanche? I pushed the brochures back across the table, untouched. Before I become incompetent, I'm not. I won't. This is my house. I'm staying. I make my own decisions about my life, my health, and my property. Is that clear? The room froze. Glenn looked up from his phone for the first time in weeks. Stuart's face darkened. You're being unreasonable? We're trying to help you. You don't understand the complexities of estate management at your age. I stood, ending the conversation with finality. I understand perfectly. I was a judge for 30 years. I know exactly what I'm doing. This discussion is over. I walked to my study, closed the door, locked it. Behind me, silence stretched for 10 seconds before Stuart's chair scraped back violently. Late that evening, I sat at my desk, door still locked. Stuart's raised voice carried from the master bedroom down the hall. Angry phone call, words indistinct, but tone crystal clear. Rage, frustration. Blanche's voice joined, shrill and defensive. Their plan wasn't working, and they knew it. I opened the desk drawer, pulled out the folder Marcus had given me. Copies of all financial transfers, property deeds showing Cora's co-ownership, new will excluding Blanche completely. Everything documented, everything legal, everything done. I locked the folder back just as footsteps approached my door. Sharp knock, demanding. Stuart's voice tight with controlled fury. Silas, we need to talk, right now. I looked at the locked door, at the folder in my drawer, at my phone where Marcus's number waited on speed dial. My hand reached toward the door handle. The war had officially begun, and I'd already won the first 3 battles. The question was whether to open the door or let him stand in the hallway fuming. I didn't open the door that night, or any night after. The house became a war zone, silent, cold, hostile. In the weeks following that confrontation, Stuart abandoned all pretense. No more false courtesy, no more manufactured concern, just open aggression. People your age lose their minds and don't even know it, he said one morning, blocking the hallway as I headed for the kitchen. You're making decisions you're not capable of making. Move, I said. You need supervision before you hurt yourself. I stepped around him without responding. Blanche watched from the living room, arms crossed, no longer bothering with smiles. They began controlling my movements. Stuart took my car keys one Tuesday morning, plucked them from the counter as I reached for them. I'm holding on to these, Silas. He pocketed them, despite my protests. Yesterday you nearly hit the mailbox pulling in. At your age, reaction time declines. It's not safe. I didn't nearly hit anything. Give me my keys. This isn't negotiable. It's for your safety and everyone else on the road. I'd driven perfectly. The lie was calculated, documented probably. More manufactured evidence. Blanche started monitoring my phone calls. I'd be speaking with a friend or former colleague, and suddenly the extension would click on. Dad, who are you talking to? Her voice saccharine. Oh, just a friend. Well, don't talk too long. You know how confused you get with complicated conversations. They suggested I shouldn't go out alone. Check my bedroom at night to make sure you're okay. Every action designed to build their narrative while isolating me from outside help. But they underestimated one thing. I'd been a judge. I knew how evidence worked. One Wednesday morning, I returned from a walk to find my study door ajar. I'd locked it, always locked it now. The papers on my desk had been disturbed, shuffled differently than I'd left them. The file cabinet showed fresh scratches around the lock mechanism. Someone had tried prying it open with a tool. I checked my bedroom closet safe. More scratches on the combination dial. The safe hadn't been breached, they'd failed. But the attempt was clear. Stuart, searching for financial documents, asset information, anything he could use. I photographed everything with my phone. Door lock, file cabinet, safe. Sent the images to Marcus with timestamps. Criminal intent, documented. That afternoon, David called. Silas, Stuart filed the petition 3 days ago at the county courthouse. His voice carried urgency I'd rarely heard. He's using an evaluation from Dr. Harrison. Claims you have significant cognitive impairment, memory loss, can't manage your affairs. It's complete fiction, but it's sworn testimony. Hearing is May 7th. May 7th. 4 weeks away. Less than 4 weeks, I said, feeling the timeline compress. There's more. David paused. I pulled security footage from the Portland Art Museum. From February when I first approached you. Stuart was there, Silas, following you, taking photos from across the gallery. You remember? The man in the corner I warned you about? The memory returned sharp and clear. The stranger who'd given me the warning note. David pointing towards someone watching. Stuart on his phone, supposedly in Seattle. That was him, David continued. He's been building this case for months, documenting supposedly erratic behavior, every moment calculated. Stuart at the museum, Stuart the watcher, Stuart manufacturing evidence while I'd been oblivious, admiring art, thinking I'd found peace in retirement. The man in black, my own son-in-law. I called Marcus immediately, explained the timeline. He scheduled an emergency meeting for that evening. At his office, we spread everything across the conference table. My medical evaluations proving competency. David's surveillance showing their conspiracy. Audio recordings of their planning sessions. Financial documents exposing Stuart's debts. And now, the court petition with Dr. Harrison's fraudulent testimony. They filed for emergency guardianship based on alleged immediate risk to your welfare, Marcus explained, reviewing the petition documents. Dr. Harrison's evaluation is their cornerstone. We destroy his credibility. Their case collapses. I'm requesting his patient records, financial records, communication with Stuart. We prove fraud, they face criminal charges. What do I need to do? Marcus looked at me directly, colleague to colleague. Testify, clearly, confidently. Let Judge Marshall see you're completely competent. Bring your medical evaluations from 3 independent doctors. Bring evidence of their conspiracy. Let the facts speak. I nodded. Facts, evidence. The currency of justice. I returned home after midnight. The house was dark except for a lamp in the living room. Stuart sat waiting. He stood as I entered, blocking my path to the study. Blanche appeared beside him. We filed papers with the court, Silas. Stuart's voice carried threat beneath false concern. Competency evaluation. They'll appoint a guardian, someone to manage your affairs, make proper decisions. You need supervision, professional care. This is happening whether you cooperate or not. Blanche nodded, defensive. We're doing this because we love you, because you can't see what's happening to you. Someone has to protect you from yourself. I met Stuart's eyes, let silence stretch between us, then spoke, ice cold. I'll see you in court, both of you. Stuart's face registered shock. You knew? How long have you... I walked past them toward my study. Long enough, court will decide who needs protection from whom. The following 3 weeks passed intense preparation. I spent days locked in my study, reviewing evidence with Marcus, preparing testimony. Stuart and Blanche and I barely spoke, passing in hallways without acknowledgement. Glenn stayed away, spending more time on campus than home. I documented every interaction, every threat, every restriction they imposed. The law grew thicker daily, evidence mounting like water behind a dam. The evening before the hearing, I sat in Marcus's office for final preparation. The conference table was covered with folders, medical evaluations, surveillance footage stills, financial documents, audio recordings. Tomorrow Judge Marshall will see everything, Marcus said, reviewing testimony strategy. Your competency evaluations, their conspiracy, Dr. Harrison's fraud, speak clearly, answer directly, let the evidence work. I nodded, calm despite the stakes. Decades on the bench had prepared me for courtrooms. This was my world. The door opened. Marcus's paralegal entered with a document. Dr. Harrison's financial records just arrived. She placed the folder on the table. You were right. Stuart paid him $12,000 2 weeks before the evaluation. Marcus smiled grimly. Now we have them. I stood, gathering my copies of evidence. Tomorrow, justice. I walked to the office window, looked out at Portland's evening lights spreading across the city. Somewhere out there, Stuart and Blanche were preparing their case, confident in their lies. My reflection stared back from the dark glass, steady and resolved. See you tomorrow. Morning came. I dressed in a dark suit, courtroom attire. Marcus met me at the courthouse entrance. Multnomah County Courthouse rose 10 stories of concrete and glass, holding decades of Portland's legal battles. I'd walked these halls thousands of times as a judge. Now I entered as defendant. We took the elevator to the second floor, courtroom 2B, Judge Marshall presiding. Inside, the familiar architecture of justice. Wooden benches, raised judge's bench, American flag in the corner. Stuart and Blanche sat at the petitioner's table with their attorney, a thin man named Wilson. They wore expressions of false concern, worried family members seeking to protect fragile elder. I sat beside Marcus at the respondent's table, relaxed, ready. All rise. Judge Marshall entered, a gray-haired man in his 60s. I knew him slightly, competent judge, experienced in elder law, watchful for fraud. He settled into his chair, reviewed the file briefly. Be seated. In the matter of Stuart Grant and Blanche Grant petitioning for guardianship of Silas Grant. Mr. Wilson, present your case. Wilson stood. Your Honor, petitioners seek guardianship based on significant cognitive decline. Medical evidence will show respondent can no longer safely manage his affairs or make sound decisions. We ask the court to appoint a guardian for his protection. He called Dr. Harrison to the stand. The doctor looked nervous, adjusting his tie as he took the oath. Wilson led him through direct testimony. I evaluated Mr. Grant on March 15th, Harrison said, reading from notes. He demonstrated concerning symptoms, memory lapses, confusion about recent events, difficulty following conversation. In my professional opinion, he shows clear signs of dementia. He requires supervised care and should not manage financial matters independently. Wilson nodded. In your expert medical opinion, does Mr. Grant need a guardian? Yes, immediately, for his own protection. Thank you, doctor. No further questions. Marcus stood for cross-examination. His movements were deliberate, measured. Dr. Harrison, how long was your evaluation session with Mr. Grant? Approximately 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Marcus let that hang. Did you administer standardized cognitive assessment tests? Montreal Cognitive Assessment? Mini mental state examination? Harrison shifted. Time constraints didn't allow, so no standardized tests. Marcus moved closer. Did you receive $12,000 from Stuart Grant on March 1st, 2 weeks before this evaluation? The courtroom went still. Harrison stammered. Stuart owed me money from... Yes or no, doctor? $12,000, 2 weeks before the evaluation. Did you receive payment from the man seeking guardianship of your patient? Harrison's voice dropped. Yes. Your Honor, Marcus said, turning to Judge Marshall. Defense presents documented payment between petitioner and supposed expert witness, demonstrating financial incentive for predetermined diagnosis. Judge Marshall's expression hardened. He made notes. Counsel, present your evidence. Marcus opened the first folder. Your Honor, defense presents 3 independent medical evaluations of Silas Grant conducted in March 2025. Dr. Patricia Chen, neurologist, finds no cognitive impairment. Dr. Robert Kim, psychiatrist, confirms normal mental status. Dr. Sarah Thompson, general practitioner, reports excellent cognitive function. All 3 doctors' findings directly contradict Dr. Harrison's claims. Judge Marshall examined the documents carefully. These are comprehensive evaluations, standardized testing, multiple sessions. Continue. Marcus activated the courtroom screen. Defense also presents surveillance evidence. This video shows Stuart Grant and Blanche Grant deliberately creating disorder in respondent's home office, then photographing it. The footage played. Stuart moving papers, Blanche scattering documents, both taking photos with their phones. The timestamp, clear, March 10th, 2025. This audio recording captures their conversation, planning to, quote, declare the old man incompetent and get control of the house. Their voices filled the courtroom. Stuart. Once we have guardianship, we can sell the house, pay off debts. Blanche. How long before the hearing? Stuart. Marshall moves fast. 2 months, maybe 3. Judge Marshall's jaw tightened. Your Honor, defense calls Silas Grant to testify. I stood, walked to the witness stand, took the oath. My voice was steady, clear. Marcus led me through background. My career as circuit court judge, 32 years on the bench. My awareness of Stuart and Blanche's financial situation. Their systematic manipulation attempts. Mr. Grant, you're aware these proceedings allege you cannot manage your own affairs? I'm aware. The allegations are false. I've proactively protected my assets, documented their fraud, and retained legal counsel. Those aren't actions of an incompetent person. Judge Marshall leaned forward. Mr. Grant, walk me through your daily routine. What did you do yesterday? I described my morning walk, reading the newspaper, reviewing legal documents with Marcus, preparing testimony, cooking dinner. Every detail precise, every memory clear. The judge nodded. Mr. Stuart Grant, take the stand. Stuart approached reluctantly. Judge Marshall didn't wait for Wilson's questions. Mr. Grant, I've heard an audio recording of your voice stating, we need to get him declared incompetent before he changes the will. Explain this statement. Stuart fumbled. That was taken out of context. We were just concerned about his welfare. Context appears clear, Mr. Grant. You discuss legal strategy to gain control of assets, not medical concern. Stuart had no answer. Judge Marshall reviewed his notes for 30 seconds. Then he spoke, his voice carrying the weight of judicial authority. Petition denied. Mr. Silas Grant demonstrates full mental capacity. Evidence suggests petitioners engaged in conspiracy to defraud and elder abuse. I'm referring this matter to the district attorney, Dr. Harrison. The medical board will receive full transcript. Dismissed. The gavel fell. Stuart and Blanche sat frozen. Their attorney gathered papers quickly, preparing to exit. In the courthouse hallway, Stuart approached me, anger breaking through shock. You set us up. You knew everything from the beginning. I faced him calmly. I was a judge for 30 years, Stuart. You tried to use the legal system against me, in my world. Did you really believe you'd succeed? He had no response. Blanche pulled him away. They disappeared down the hallway, their attorney already gone. Marcus shook my hand. Complete victory, petition dismissed, criminal referral filed, doctor facing investigation. I nodded, but showed no triumph. They still live in my house, Marcus. This isn't over. His expression turned serious. Then we moved to phase 2. We stood on the courthouse steps, afternoon sun breaking through Portland clouds. Marcus reviewed next steps. District attorney will investigate. Criminal charges possible. Elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy. Dr. Harrison will lose his license. Stuart and Blanche face serious consequences. They still have keys to my house, I said. Court victory doesn't change that I share a roof with people who tried to steal my life. Marcus pulled out his phone. Then we file the papers, civil lawsuit for damages, eviction proceedings. We remove them legally, permanently. Below us, Stuart and Blanche stood on the sidewalk, conferring urgently with Wilson. The attorney shook his head, walked away, abandoning them. They stood alone, defeated but still dangerous. I turned to Marcus. File the papers, lawsuit for emotional damages and attempted fraud. Start eviction process, I want them out. Marcus began dialing. The call connected. Linda, prepare 2 filings, civil suit and eviction notice for... 2 weeks after court victory, I set the next phase in motion. Marcus filed the paperwork. Process server found them at home, midday Tuesday. I wasn't there when the doorbell rang, but Marcus called afterward to describe Stuart's face when he opened the envelope. The blood draining, the hands trembling. 2 documents inside. First, demand for back rent, $2,500 per month for 24 months of occupancy. Total, $60,000. Second, civil suit for emotional damages from conspiracy and attempted elder abuse. Total, $75,000. Combined claim, $135,000. They can't pay, I said to Marcus that afternoon in his office. Correct. He spread the legal filings across his conference table. Oregon unjust enrichment law is clear. They occupied your property for 2 years without compensation. Fair market rent is $2,500 monthly. That's $60,000 total. Emotional damages are documented through their conspiracy, your stress, the court case. Both claims are solid. How long? Marcus smiled grimly. 30 days notice required by Oregon law. We send demand now, file eviction mid-June, hearing early July, enforcement by end of July. They're out by August. I reviewed the documents methodically, signed the authorization forms. Each signature another nail in their coffin, not driven by anger, by arithmetic, cause and consequence. Stuart's situation collapsed rapidly after that. His employer, a mid-sized construction firm, fired him when the court proceedings became public. Elder abuse investigation made him a liability. No one wants management accused of defrauding family members. No income. $120,000 in existing debt. Now, $135,000 in new claims. Creditors intensified collection efforts, threatening calls starting at 8 in the morning, demand letters arriving daily. Blanche's credit cards all maxed at $45,000 total. They were financially destroyed. They couldn't hire an attorney to defend against my suits, could barely afford food. 3 days after the papers were served, Blanche called Cora. I heard about it from my younger daughter that evening. She begged, Cora said, voice tight with controlled anger. Said you were being cruel, vindictive, destroying the family. Asked for money, for a loan, for a place to stay. What did you tell her? That she tried to steal your house and commit fraud. That she's not a victim. She's a criminal who got caught. That I wouldn't help her escape consequences of her own choices. Cora paused. She called me heartless. Then she hung up. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Don't be. She made her bed. Now she sleeps in it. The household atmosphere became unbearable. Stuart drank heavily, started before noon most days. His aggression surfaced in vicious comments whenever we passed in hallways. Blanche alternated between crying and screaming accusations. One evening, she cornered me in the kitchen. How can you be so cruel? Tears streaked her face, mascara running black. I'm your daughter. I set down my coffee cup carefully. You stopped being my daughter when you decided I was worth more to you institutionalized than free. You made a calculation. You lost. Accept it. We needed that money. We have debts, problems. You never cared about that. I care about justice. You're experiencing consequences of your own actions. That's not cruelty. That's accountability. She screamed something incoherent and fled upstairs. Stuart appeared in the doorway, drunk, swaying slightly. You're destroying us, he said, voice thick. No, you destroyed yourselves. I'm simply not preventing the collapse. He left without responding. Glenn came to my study one evening, knocked quietly. I let him in. Why are you doing this? He asked. They're still your family. I considered the question seriously. He deserved honesty. They planned to institutionalize me falsely, steal my home, and leave me powerless. When family betrays you this completely, what remains? I'm holding them accountable. That's not cruelty. That's justice. Glenn looked at the floor. I knew something was wrong. I didn't stop them. I'm sorry. You're 19. You stayed silent, but you didn't participate. Learn from this, Glenn. Choose your own path. You're not responsible for their choices. I'm moving out, going to my dad's. I can't watch this anymore. That's wise. Take care of yourself. He left 3 days later, early morning, a note on the kitchen counter. One less person I'd have to evict. Late June, Stuart confronted me in my study doorway. Drunk, aggressive, desperate. You can't throw us out. We have nowhere to go. You're going to make your own daughter homeless? I didn't look up from my papers. You were going to institutionalize me and sell my house. You'd have made me homeless, except I actually built this home. You tried to steal it. We needed that money. You don't understand? I finally looked at him, ice cold. I understand you committed fraud. I understand you face criminal investigation. I understand Oregon law allows me to evict non-paying occupants, which is what you are. Leave my study. He stood there shaking with rage for 10 seconds, then turned and left. The next morning, Marcus called. Silas, they haven't responded to the demand. No payment, no contact, no attorney. Ready to proceed with eviction filing? I didn't hesitate. File it. I want them out. That afternoon, Marcus and I went to the county courthouse. He submitted the eviction paperwork to the clerk's office. Forms stamped, case number assigned, hearing date scheduled for mid-July. The clerk handed Marcus the official copy. 30-day notice must be served immediately. Marcus nodded, already had the drafted notice in his briefcase. We walked down the courthouse steps into afternoon sunlight. Across the street, I spotted Stuart's car parked outside a bar, 11 in the morning on a weekday. He's falling apart, I said. Marcus followed my gaze. They both are. This ends one way, them leaving voluntarily or the sheriff removing them forcibly. Their choice which. He pulled out his phone, called the process server. Need eviction notice served today. Yes, same address as before. I watched the courthouse doors revolve with other people's legal problems, knowing my own solution approached. Marcus confirmed into the phone, then turned to me. Server will deliver notice within 2 hours, July 15th. That's their deadline. After that, he didn't finish, didn't need to. 30 days passed slowly. They stayed, angry and desperate. July 15th arrived, eviction day. I woke knowing it would end today. Marcus arrived at 9, carrying his briefcase and legal documents. We sat in my study while the house remained silent above us. Stuart and Blanche knew what was coming. They'd had 30 days to prepare, but I'd seen no evidence of packing until yesterday afternoon. At 10 o'clock precisely, the doorbell rang. 2 sheriff's deputies stood on the porch, professional and calm. One held a clipboard with the court order. The other surveyed the property with experienced eyes. He'd done this before, many times. I watched from the study doorway as Stuart answered, already drinking. I could smell it from across the room. The deputy spoke clearly. Mr. Grant, we're here to execute a court-ordered eviction. You have 2 hours to remove your belongings from the premises. After that, any remaining items become property of the homeowner. Stuart took a step forward, body language aggressive. You can't do this. This is our home. We've lived here 2 years. I'll fight this. I'll fight you. The deputy remained unmoved. Sir, the court has ruled. You must vacate. Resistance will result in arrest. Step back, please. I'm not going anywhere. That old man can't throw us out. The deputy raised his hand, spoke into his radio. Need police backup at this location, resident refusing eviction order and making threats. Within 5 minutes, 2 city police officers arrived. One approached Stuart with calm authority. Sir, I need you to calm down immediately. You're being given a lawful order to vacate. You have 2 choices. Leave peacefully or be arrested for trespassing and interfering with a court order. Which will it be? Stuart backed down, shoulders slumping. Fine, we'll leave. But this isn't over. Actually, sir, it is. And if you return to this property without permission, you'll be arrested immediately. Do you understand? Stuart nodded, hatred burning in his eyes as he looked past the officers toward where I stood watching. Blanche appeared on the stairs, moving like a ghost through rooms she'd occupied for 2 years. She touched furniture, picked up framed photographs, set them down again. Mascara ran down her face in black streaks. She approached me, desperate. Dad, please, don't do this. I'm your daughter. We made mistakes, but we're family. Where are we supposed to go? I met her eyes without flinching. You tried to have me declared incompetent. You forged medical documents. You planned to institutionalize me and sell my house. You stopped being my family when you became my enemies. We needed help. We have debts, problems. You never cared about that. You only care about yourself. I care about justice. You're experiencing consequences of your own actions. That's not cruelty. That's accountability. She screamed at me, heartless, cruel, vindictive, words dissolving into sobs. Marcus stepped between us. Mrs. Grant, you need to continue packing. You have limited time. Use it. The next 3 hours passed in systematic removal. Stuart and Blanche loaded belongings into a rented moving truck parked in the driveway. Furniture, clothes, personal items, though not much. They'd accumulated little in 2 years, spent money rather than saved. Neighbors watched from windows. I didn't care. Stuart made multiple trips, each time shooting venomous glares toward my study window. Blanche sobbed throughout, but kept packing. They barely spoke to each other, the pressure fracturing their relationship too. "Where's Glenn?" Blanche asked one deputy at some point. "Why isn't he helping?" "He left weeks ago," Stuart snapped at her. "Took everything, ran to his real father. Everyone's abandoning us." "Even my own son left me," she wailed. "Shut up and pack. We don't have time for your hysteria." I observed from my window, expression neutral. When external enemies disappear, allies become targets. Predictable. By early afternoon, the truck was loaded. They'd rented a small apartment in outer Portland, Stuart had mentioned to the deputies. Cheap, barely adequate, all they could afford on nothing. Stuart climbed into the driver's seat. Blanche took one last look at the house, at me standing in the doorway. She opened her mouth, apology, curse, but nothing came. She turned away, got into the passenger seat. The engine started. The truck pulled away down the street. Gone. The deputy approached with completion paperwork. "Mr. Grant, the sheriff's office has completed eviction enforcement. Residents have vacated. Property is now exclusively in your possession. Here's your copy." Marcus shook hands with both deputies. "Thank you, officers. We appreciate your professionalism." After they left, Marcus turned to me. "It's done. Your home is yours again. They have no legal right to return. If they try, it's criminal trespass. Immediate arrest." I nodded slowly. 2 years. 2 years living with people who wanted me gone. Now they are. How it should have been. You protected yourself. You used the law properly. You have nothing to feel guilty about. I don't feel guilty. I feel relieved and tired. Very tired. Marcus left shortly after. I walked through the empty house alone. Their former bedroom was messy, damaged, disrespectful even in departure. I'd hire cleaners tomorrow, repair what needed fixing, make it mine again completely. I returned to my study, sat at my desk, looked at a framed photograph of younger Blanche from years ago, before greed, before betrayal. I opened the desk drawer, placed the photo inside, face down, closed it. Past was past. I pulled out the legal documents Marcus had left. Eviction, completion, trespass warning, civil judgment still unpaid. $135,000 they'd never pay. I didn't care about the money anymore. I'd wanted my home, my freedom, my peace. I'd gotten all three. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, then answered. "Dad, Blanche's voice, small and broken. My finger hovered over the disconnect button. Decision unmade. I just wanted to say, I disconnected the call, and the next one, and everyone after. Days became weeks. She kept trying. I kept refusing. The house required work. 2 years of occupation had left marks, scuffed walls, stained carpets, broken fixtures, general neglect. The week after eviction, Cora arrived with cleaning supplies and a contractor's number. "Let's fix this," she said simply. We spent August transforming the space. Cora painted the living room while I replaced broken door hinges. We hired professionals for major repairs, new carpet in the hallway, refinished hardwood in the dining room, fresh tile in the bathroom Stuart had damaged. But we handled the smaller work ourselves, scrubbing and painting side by side. 2 years they lived here and treated it like this? Cora examined a hole punched in the bedroom wall. "Your own daughter?" I tested the damaged drywall with my fingers. They never saw it as home. They saw it as an asset to liquidate. Different perspective creates different behavior. I'm glad we're fixing it together, making it yours again, ours. Thank you for helping, and for hiring David. Without that warning at the museum, I might not have protected myself in time. She nodded, returned to painting. My phone continued ringing. Blanche's number, always. I'd glance at the screen, watch it light up, wait for it to stop, delete the voicemail notification without listening. Marcus had advised against contact, could complicate legal proceedings still finalizing. I didn't need the excuse. I had no desire to hear her voice. Marcus provided updates through legal channels. Stewart had been fired from a new job. The scandal followed him. Elder abuse investigation, a matter of public record. No employer wanted the liability. Blanche lost her position at the medical clinic. Reputation destroyed in the medical community. Their cheap apartment barely affordable. Debts crushing them. Stewart's drinking has increased, Marcus reported during one meeting. Arguments audible to neighbors, marriage fracturing. I signed documents he'd spread across my dining table without comment. They'd destroyed my family. Now they destroyed each other. I felt no satisfaction in their suffering, but no pity either. Natural consequences. Mid-August, an email arrived from Glenn. Brief, awkward, but genuine. Mr. Grant, I moved in with my dad, going back to college, working part-time. I'm sorry I didn't speak up when I should have. I was a coward. I hope you're doing okay. I'm trying to do better. Glenn? I showed it to Cora during our evening painting session. Think he means it? She asked, reading. Maybe. He's young. People can change, or they can't. Time shows the truth. I filed the email away. Maybe Glenn learned something, maybe not. A handwritten letter arrived from Blanche, forwarded through Marcus's office to avoid direct contact. Several pages, substantial. I held the envelope, contemplated opening it. Whatever she'd written, apology, justification, plea, didn't matter. Written words couldn't undo conspiracy and betrayal. I slid it into my desk drawer unopened. Marcus visited with final settlement documents in late August. They declared bankruptcy, he explained, reviewing papers. Court extracted $45,000 before protection kicked in. Rest is uncollectible. You'll never see the full judgment. I signed the papers with steady hands. I didn't do this for money. I did it for my freedom and my home, both achieved. Criminal investigation remains open. DA hasn't filed charges yet. Elder abuse cases compete with violent crimes for resources. They may still face charges, or they may not. Either way, they're gone. That's what mattered. Marcus hesitated. You should know. Blanche has been calling my office too, asking me to convince you to talk to her. I've declined to relay messages. Good. Keep declining. I have nothing to say to her. David Chen delivered his final report the following day. Comprehensive documentation. Timeline of surveillance. Evidence collected. Case notes. Professional closure. You did excellent work, David. I accepted the thick-bound report. Thorough, professional, timely. You gave me the advantage I needed. Your daughter Cora hired me. Smart woman. She sensed something wrong and acted on instinct. That saved you. I'm aware. I'm lucky in at least one daughter. We shook hands. He left. I filed the report away, knowing I'd probably never need it again, but grateful to have it. That evening, Cora and I sat in the renovated living room with coffee. Fresh paint still faintly scented the air. She looked at me seriously. Dad, I want to thank you, not just for protecting the house, for showing me it's okay to set boundaries, even with family, especially with family. Family means different things to different people. To Blanche, it meant access to resources. To Stewart, it meant opportunity for exploitation. To you, it means something better. To me, it means loyalty, support, truth. You gave me all of those. Blanche gave you none. She made her choices. I made mine. Both of us live with consequences. I'm glad you chose yourself. You taught me I can do the same if I ever need to. I hope you never need to, I said quietly. But if you do, remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish. Sometimes it's survival. She hugged me then, rare physical affection in our relationship. I stiffened briefly before accepting it, patting her back awkwardly. Late August evening, I sat in my renovated study. Fresh paint smell lingered. New desk lamp cast warm light across refinished wood. I reviewed David's final report one last time before filing it permanently. My phone buzzed. Blanche again. 10th call this week. I watched her name flash on the screen, waited for it to stop. Voicemail notification appeared. I deleted it without listening, as always. I opened the desk drawer to file David's report. Saw Blanche's unopened letter underneath other papers. Pristine envelope, her handwriting on the front. Dad, it said, just that. I considered taking it out, reading it finally. My hand hovered over the envelope. The door opened. Cora entered carrying 2 mugs of coffee. Working late? I closed the drawer, leaving the letter unread. Just finishing up. Final report from David. She handed me coffee, sat in the opposite chair. Are you happy, Dad, with how this turned out? I held the warm mug, considering the question seriously. I answered her question the next day, and the day after, and every day following, through how I lived. Yes, I was happy with the outcome. Final week of August, we prepared the house for a small dinner party. 6 guests, Cora, Marcus, and 3 longtime friends from my professional life. Simple meal, good wine, comfortable conversation. Nothing extravagant. Just reclaiming the simple pleasure of hosting in my own home without enemies under my roof. Before they arrived, I showed Cora my study, where I'd resumed painting. Easel set up by the window overlooking the garden. Canvas in progress, abstract piece with bold colors, violent strokes of crimson and deep blue, unlike the careful pastoral landscapes I'd painted before retirement. Started painting again last week, different style than before, harder edges, darker tones, different perspective changes the art. Cora examined the canvas, tilting her head. It's powerful, raw, angry almost. I like it better than your old landscapes, more honest. Experience changes how you see things. Can't paint innocent views after what happened, but can paint truthful ones. I touch the canvas edge, paint still slightly tacky. These colors come from somewhere real now. Knowledge earned. Are you doing a show? Small gallery in October, local venue downtown, nothing major, just returning to myself, the parts of me that got buried dealing with them. I gestured at the painting. This is what survival looks like in art form. Not pretty, but mine. Marcus arrived early with news, as attorneys tend to do. He set his briefcase on the kitchen counter with the weight of finality. Final chapter, he said, spreading documents across the granite surface I'd scrubbed clean of their 2 years of neglect. Stewart and Blanche appealed the civil judgment. Appeal rejected yesterday. No legal merit whatsoever. Their attorney abandoned them after the bankruptcy filing. Professional ethics, probably. No one wants to represent obvious fraud. Criminal charges? DA declined prosecution. Insufficient resources for elder abuse case when no physical harm occurred. Frustrating, but realistic. Marcus organized the papers with practiced efficiency. Civil system did the job the criminal system couldn't. You won where it mattered. Freedom, home, assets protected. Everything that counts. I accepted the outcome calmly. I didn't need them in prison. I needed them gone from my life, permanently. Accomplished. Stewart's creditors sued separately and won, forced bankruptcy, liquidated what little assets they had left. Marcus pulled out another document. He and Blanche are financially destroyed, reputations ruined in this city. She lost her clinic job. He can't find work anywhere in Portland. Background checks show the elder abuse investigation. Their consequences aren't from you anymore. They're from everyone else now. Society handles the rest. Natural outcomes of their choices. Not my concern anymore. Marcus gathered his papers, then paused. Also, Glenn contacted me last week. Wants legal advice about name change, distancing himself from the family scandal. He's in community college now, working part-time at a bookstore, paying his own way. His biological father is helping him build a better foundation. Steady guidance without enabling. Good for him. He's young enough to recover, make different choices than his parents made. I felt neither warmth nor coldness toward Glenn, just neutral acknowledgement of another person's path. Some people learn, some don't. During party preparation, mail arrived with another envelope from Blanche, handwritten again, thicker than the first. 7 or 8 pages, I estimated from the weight. I held it a moment, felt the desperation in how carefully she'd written my name, then handed it to Cora. Read it or not, your choice. I'm done with her words, written or spoken. Cora considered the envelope, turning it over in her hands, then shook her head firmly. No. If you're not reading it, neither am I. We're moving forward, not back. She had chances to be honest. 2 years of chances. She chose lies instead. She placed it in the desk drawer with the first unopened letter. 2 chances at reconciliation, Blanche had written. 2 chances I'd declined without reading a single word. Some bridges, once burned completely, stay burned forever. The dinner flowed easily, naturally, like water finding its level. Friends congratulated me on resolving a difficult situation, asked about the renovation progress, admired the results of our work. Conversation avoided dwelling on conspiracy details. Everyone knew the story from news coverage and legal gossip. No need to relive trauma over good food. Instead, we discussed future plans. My art show, Cora's business expansion into Seattle, Marcus's upcoming trial defending a whistleblower, friends' travels to Iceland and Morocco, grandchildren's college choices. Normal conversation, normal life, normal evening. Exactly what I'd wanted. Ordinary peace after extraordinary betrayal. The sound of laughter in my home again, genuine and unforced. After dessert, apple pie Cora had baked, Martha's old recipe. Marcus raised his glass of port. To Silas, who showed us that the best revenge isn't dramatic or violent. It's legal, thorough, and permanent. Who used the system correctly and won completely. Who proved that justice, properly applied, is more powerful than rage. To justice itself. I accepted the toast modestly, uncomfortable with praise even when deserved. I just protected myself, used the tools available, law, evidence, boundaries, nothing dramatic, just necessary survival. Cora added, raising her own glass. To choosing yourself when choosing others means losing yourself. To knowing when to fight and how to win. To boundaries that protect rather than isolate. To my father, who taught me strength comes in many forms. Glasses clinked around the table, a quiet moment of satisfaction shared among people who'd stood by me through the hardest months. A friend, Robert, a longtime colleague from the bench, leaned forward with genuine curiosity. Silas, you handled this with remarkable calm throughout. I don't know if I could have stayed so controlled facing that level of betrayal. How did you maintain that clarity? 30 years as a judge teaches you. Emotion loses cases. Facts win them. Every single time. I set down my glass. I treated my own situation like a case I was presiding over. Gathered evidence, built strategy, executed plan methodically. Personal feelings had no place in the process. They would have weakened my position. Another friend asked, "Do you think they'll ever understand what they did wrong?" I considered that. Understanding requires accountability. They haven't shown any. Blanche writes letters I don't read, probably explaining, justifying, seeking absolution without earning it. Stuart drinks and blames everyone else. No, they won't understand, and that's no longer my problem to solve. Guests departed by 10, warm farewells on the porch I'd pressure washed last week, removing 2 years of accumulated grime. Cora and I cleaned up together in comfortable silence, broken by occasional comments. That was nice, normal, like life before everything happened, she said, scraping plates. I dried dishes while she washed, old rhythm restored. Better than before, actually. Now I know what I'm capable of handling, what I'm willing to accept, and what I'm absolutely not. That knowledge has value you can't measure. No regrets at all? I paused, considering the question with the seriousness it deserved. About protecting myself? None whatsoever. About losing Blanche? That happened when she chose greed over family, fraud over honesty. I just acknowledged it officially. Can't regret facing truth, only regret ignoring it. I ignored it too long already. She left by 11, hugging me at the door. I walked through the quiet house, my house, truly and completely mine again. Entered my study, sat at the desk, looked at the drawer containing 2 unopened letters from Blanche. 8 or 9 pages total of words I'd never read. I considered reading them finally. Opening that drawer, breaking those seals, seeing what she'd written in her own desperate hand, then realized I didn't need to. Whatever she'd written, apology, explanation, plea, justification, didn't change the fundamental facts. She'd betrayed me systematically. I'd protected myself thoroughly. Story was over, verdict rendered, sentence served. I'd lost a daughter, but saved myself. Fair trade, necessary trade, the only trade available. I turned to the window overlooking the garden bathed in moonlight. Peaceful, just, mine. Every blade of grass, every rosebush, every stone on the path. Mine to enjoy, without fear, without watching for manipulation, without second-guessing every interaction. I opened my sketchbook to a fresh page, began a rough outline for a new painting. Not abstract this time. Architectural drawing, my house from the front, strong lines, solid foundation, clear boundaries. Every room, every wall, every window I'd defended and reclaimed through law and strategy. Every door that locked against intruders, every space restored to sanctuary. I labeled it simply at the bottom, home. Set down the pencil, leaned back in my chair, looked at the desk drawer containing those unopened letters. 2 chances at her redemption I'd declined. Some would call it cold, unforgiving, harsh. I called it complete, necessary, final. She'd written her apologies. I didn't read them. Fair exchange for the conspiracy she'd written against me in secret meetings with corrupt doctors and greedy attorneys. I stood, walked to the window. Garden below in moonlight, city lights beyond stretching toward the hills. Life continuing everywhere. I'd lost a daughter, but gained clarity. Lost family, but kept dignity. Lost comfort, but gained control. Lost illusions, but gained truth. Necessary trades, everyone. I thought about the man at the museum, David Chen, who'd handed me that folded note in February. Act calm and follow me. Simple advice that saved me. I had followed the path away from their trap toward my own salvation. Best advice I'd ever received from a stranger who became my ally. Tomorrow I'd call the gallery about my show, confirm the October dates. Next week I'd start a new painting, maybe something with warmer tones. Not everything ahead had to be dark. Next month I'd host another dinner, maybe invite more friends, reclaim more of the social life they'd tried to isolate me from. Life continued, better than before, because I knew now what I was capable of enduring and overcoming. The most elegant revenge wasn't destroying them, it was rebuilding myself, using their own weapons, law, documentation, evidence, procedure, the very system they had tried to weaponize against me to protect what was mine. They'd wanted to take everything. I'd taken back my life instead. They'd counted on my weakness. I'd shown them strength they couldn't comprehend. I returned to the desk, closed the sketchbook on the drawing of my house, switched off the desk lamp, walked through dark rooms toward my bedroom, in my house, living my life, making my choices. Every step an affirmation of freedom earned and defended. Peace achieved, justice served, story complete. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.